Greetings from Storybrooke. I'm Bobby Hawk, and this is the land where timelines don't matter, and we talk about ABC's hit series show Once Upon a Time. And joining me this week, we have Monica Sadai. How are you doing this week, Monica?
Good, yeah.
Actually, I'm doing pretty good. I think I finally have most of my audio issues figured out here. Knock on wood. Where's Pinocchio at, so I can knock on wood. And Elizabeth Placencia, how are you doing this week, Elizabeth?
I'm good. I'm doing good.
That's good. And telling you that, guys, this week what we're here to talk about, what is this, the 19th, 20th episode? Which one is this week?
20th, I believe.
20th, I think so. Yes. 20th episode of the 7th season. Is This Henry Mills? And I tell you guys, this felt like a finale to me. What do you think?
It was amazing.
Yeah, and Elizabeth and I were talking about this beforehand, before you joined us, Monica. I feel like the past seasons followed that format to where, the season actually ended like an episode or two before the before the season actually ended, and then they kind of used the last episode or two to set up whatever else would be coming in the future. But unfortunately, we don't have anything else coming in the future. But I'm telling you, I still can't wait to see, with those last few seconds of this episode, I can't wait to see, what they have in store for us in the last two episodes. But I'm jumping all over the place, getting ahead of ourselves. So why don't we just go ahead and get started with this week's episode? And Monica, why don't you go ahead and do the rhyming summary this week for us?
And of course, I haven't. Please stop.
Monica,
sorry.
you're echoing.
I said, please, Elizabeth, stall for me.
Oh, because all we heard was like a really bad echo.
I'm
but
sorry.
Now you're fine. You're fine.
So. It happens.
I'm stalling. What am I doing?
Did you not have the notes? Okay.
Okay. Now I have it.
Okay. All right.
I'm a bad staller.
All right. Without further ado, here's Monica Sadai with this week's rhyming summary.
A dangerous storm has come to town. For Henry's belief, Ronnie won't back down. Jacinda is prepared for anything, even to face what Sam D might be bringing. Gothel has Tilly under a spell, and Rumpel may never find a bell. The curse is broken and everyone thrills. In this week's episode, Is This Henry Mills?
Good rhyming summary. Very good. Very good.
I love it. I think you're better at the rhyming than I ever was.
No, were you going to say something, Monica?
No, I always loved writing, and I always hated rhymes because I could never think of. Well, I could never think of. Okay, so I want to say this, but I don't know what rhymes with that, and the internet has solved those problems.
But see, that the internet is just a tool, and over time you'll be able to access that information. Like once you do that for so long, then it's just like the information in your head already. Right. And you kind of have that to recall from. So
when I was 10, that wasn't an issue.
No, right. But yes, you've definitely stepped up as far as the rhyming summaries are concerned for us, Monica. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so without further ado, again, let's go ahead and get down to the recap because this is a long one, guys. All right, so it begins with a storm brews on the horizon. Ronnie leaves her bar to investigate, and Lucy literally runs into her. She tells Ronnie that she brought the slipper to Sandy to cure Henry, but Henry and Jacinda's true love's kiss did not break the curse. Suddenly, Gothel appears with an offer. Gothel's curse will wipe out humanity for good, but if she agrees to join the coven, her family will be spared. Ronnie refuses. Gothel tells her Henry could not break the curse because, as you age, your ability believe. Sorry. As you age, your ability to believe disappears with your youth, and there's nothing you can do to bring it back. In Storybrooke, a young Henry Mills prepares for his last day of school. His mother Regina surprises him with the keys to the car. He may need them now that he'll be driving off to Storybrooke College, but he was thinking of driving a bit farther than that. Back at Ronnie, she's attempting to cook up something to fight off the storm when Weaver pays a visit. He was able to extract some of the memory potion from Nick's blood. If they can wake Henry, maybe they can get the truest believer back. Meanwhile, under Hyperion Heights, Rogers calls out for Tilly, but she just continues to babble incoherently with the rest of the coven. One of them begins to shake violently before she vanishes and her cloak drops to the floor. Rice tells Rogers that it's too late. The ritual has begun. When a sister has given everything they have, they are rewarded with a place in the Eternal Grove. Rice removes the robe from the ground and reveals a sapling where the witch once stood. He goes on about how special all of this is, which gives Rogers the opportunity to slip from the ropes and get the better of Rice. He attempts to save Tilly, but when he grabs her, he immediately grabs his heart and collapses to the ground. He doesn't know what's happening, but he tells Tilly he'll be back for her as he flees the cave. Young Henry pulls some elsewhere. Young Henry pulls some tools from his old lunchbox, and Granny helps him tinker with his new present. Regina comes by with some school brochures, but she may not want him to leave home, but she knows that when it's time to let go. In Seattle, Ronnie stops by Henry's for small talk, but really she's just there with the memory potion from Weaver. She slips it into his coffee, but when he takes a drink, nothing happens. Ronnie tries to make him believe, but he says he does believe in what he has now and he's done trying to find an imaginary past. Across town, Jacinda is packing up her and Lucy for a weekend away with Henry. Lucy gets a text from Ronnie to meet in the cemetery. Sabine brings in an extra bag Drew had from the car, which Lucy uses to pack her things. Sabine wonders where Drew might be when Lucy finds a tarot card in the bag. She tells them she's seen Sandy with tarot cards in the past. With that, Jacinda and Sabine run off to ask Sandy some questions, leaving Lucy behind to pack. Okay, I'm going to take a drink.
That was a lot of talking.
I love the lunchbox callback. You know, with him throwing the tools in there, and it was the same tool, same way he had like the little toolbox, makeshift toolbox he was using to fix the bike in the Enchanted Forest and whatnot. And then Storybrooke College. Really, there's a Storybrooke College? Are you not even community college? No, just straight up college. And then, of course, already in just these first few acts, great performance by both Henrys, especially Andrew J. West. The scene where he kind of breaks down to Ronnie, when he's saying, it's all imaginary and I'm done believing in imaginary things. What was it he says? Just really good, really good, really good. I'll just I'm gonna take a drink because I'm already getting long-winded here, and I'll let you guys. Is there anything you don't have? Neither of you have anything in the notes in the first section here? Is there anything either of you want to add?
Liz,
I'm having a brain fart. I have them a lot lately.
Okay,
you go, girl.
well, while you think, I really didn't have hardly any notes for this episode at all, because I was sitting there watching, going, and now, and I was just so caught up in the episode itself. But for this moment, I'm gonna pull a Bobby and Did anyone else have a Buffy flashback? As
Of course he's laughing.
So all of a sudden now there's a story for college.
Yeah.
Just back in Buffy, would after she graduated, there was suddenly a Sunnydale college that no one had ever mentioned before.
I hadn't even thought about that during the episode, but I can see.
Yeah, I'll put money in the jar.
Yeah.
The Buffy jar.
So yeah, that was my comment on this section.
Yeah, I agree with you. The whole Storybrooke College thing. I'm like, well, that's convenient. We've been in Storybrooke for 7 years, and now there's a college. Where was it before?
Exactly.
It just felt like a convenient line to throw out there. I mean, it's supposed to be such a small town, although it does have a vast forest. And maybe the college is in the forest. Because where else would it be? I don't even know.
I thought there was only one main road in town, and all I ever see is like an ice cream shop and.
The old ice cream shop. No one ice cream. Anyway. No yawning. If you yawn, I'll yawn.
All right. So I guess that's all as far as adding any kind of.
I mean, most of my commentary is towards the second half of the episode, to be honest. So.
Mm-hmm. All right then. So.
So start spieling again, Bobby.
No, you're fine. All right. me. All right. Rogers runs to the police station to try to get some answers. He tells Weaver that he's seen or what he's seen and thinks maybe he's been drugged. Weaver says he's not crazy and tells him everything, and I mean everything. Fairy tales, magic, the works. It's a little hard to swallow, but after current events, he decides to help Weaver try and stop Gothel. First stop is Ronnie's. They hope that Margot may be able to help Tilly shake whatever hold Gothel has over her. At the cemetery, Lucy meets Ronnie at the grave of Henry's family. She says this is where his belief came to die. Ronnie thinks that if they had the second Storybrooke, they might be able to wake Henry. Lucy says she hasn't seen it since Victoria showed it to her. Ronnie believes Belfry may still have it. She tells Lucy to go get Henry to the bar while she digs it up. In Storybrooke, Regina wants to gloat when she finds out that Henry has been accepted everywhere he applied, but he's not so happy. He had to lie on all of his essays. He couldn't tell them about the adventures he or his family have been on. They didn't accept the real Henry Mills. He's afraid in the real world he may lose what makes him special. Maybe he should just stay home. He asks his mom for advice, and she tells him the only person who can tell you what to do is you. I love that bit of foreshadowing. In Seattle, Lucy gets Henry to Ronnie's. They tell him if he touches the book, he'll remember just like his mom did. He humors them, and surprise, nothing happens. Lucy runs off disappointed. Regina shows him the picture, or Ronnie shows him the picture they found before. She says she followed up on it and shows him the adoption papers. She is his mom. He still refuses to believe. If all that were true, how come his life is crap? How come no one has come to save them? She says no one knows they need to be saved. Gothel's curse brought them back in time before Henry had left. They are in Storybrooke right now, blissfully unaware that anything is wrong. Henry tells her he wants to believe. That would mean that all this pain he feels now doesn't exist. Ronnie tells him that the pain is real. He still blames himself for not being able to save Lucy and Ella. But his family is there, and they will always be there for him. She just needs him to remember. With that, he grabs his bags and walks out the door. Meanwhile, Roger's gun is drawn as he leads Margot and Weaver to the Coven Circle. Once there, Margot attempts to break Tilly free. For a moment, it seems to work, but a lone tear falls from her cheek as Tilly says no and pushes Margot across the room with a wave of her hand. She lands by Rogers and Weaver. Tilly motions again and the trio shrink to the size of Smurfs as the coven continues to chant. They watch as one by one the witches become leaving only Tilly. The ritual is almost complete. All right. So first of all, like I just mentioned earlier, the only person who can tell you what to do is you. I love that bit of foreshadowing there, and there was a lot of that in this episode. When did you guys realize that there were no flashbacks in this episode?
With Regina's speech about how, they're back in time, and that, and it does make sense that, Emma Snow and Charming aren't looking for them because they don't even know they're missing. Right. And, but yeah, that's really just hearing Regina say, we were brought back to this specific point, and just, that speech was like mind-blowing. And I was like, oh my God, they're in the past. And it was, so yeah, no, that's when I realized it wasn't flashbacks.
It actually took me a few seconds, or not a few seconds, like even then, like I think it might have taken a few scenes before it really dawned on me again. Before I was
that and the phone call, that was clearly.
Like all of this has been happening at the same time. There is no flashbacks during this episode, and there hasn't been a whole lot. I'm sure there have been others. I'm not saying there hasn't been any, but there's been maybe a handful of episodes that didn't have flashbacks because that's what the show is built on.
Yeah.
Okay. Did either of you? Let me see. Was there anything else I wanted to add before? No. So is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we move on to the Elizabeth, you have a little bit to add here.
You basically, because I was going to also comment on the foreshadowing of what Regina says to young Henry, but you basically mentioned it, so it's okay.
Sorry.
As long as it gets mentioned, that's all that matters.
All right. And no, you had something. The little.
Oh, that's right. I see it. I loved it when Rogers was like, so who was I in this other, he's like hesitant to even ask the question because he feels it's ridiculous to even ask it. And then Rumple's response of like, let's just say you're a survivor, Captain. I just loved that. I loved that moment so much. I was like, my little fangirl,
Once again, another character who's been with us for the past 5 to 6 years. Like he isn't one of the original members of the cast, but he's been with us for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And this was, before he's always been Hook. He's never, his thing was about having to fit into the real world now. But, it wasn't about being cursed and not knowing what's going on and whatnot. And so, especially in this episode, I thought Colin did a really good job of playing Rogers waking up, slowly waking up, he's slowly coming to the realization, even though he's not awake, but he realizes,
there's things that he can't explain.
Yeah. And even when Rogers tells, or Weaver tells him, just flat out tells him everything, and he's like, what you're telling me magic is real? It's like, yeah, you just saw a chick turn into a tree. Yeah, dude, magic's real.
And there's no cause great enough that I would ever give my life to become a tree. There's no cause great enough for that.
And then Monica, just I know you didn't put anything in notes here, but
no, I loved that scene between Rogers and Weaver where, oh yeah, magic is real, and it's all, and yeah, I love this episode so much. And I didn't write any notes, mostly because I was just, even the second time around, I'm watching it going,
yeah, I totally understand.
Caught up in it. I don't know.
And that's why my recap is so long, because I feel like everything in this episode had to be mentioned. There wasn't anything that I could Like
Right.
sometimes when I'm writing a recap, I might, leave a scene out here or there because it doesn't necessarily, have to do with the full story. But I
Mhm.
feel like everything that happened in this, like even the little small moments with Tiana and Drew or Naveen or whatever, the names get all jumbled up at this point, especially in this episode. But like, every scene led to like, no, I gotta put that in because then because of that, this happens, and
Yes, I totally get that. Yes.
all right. So yeah. Even though there's not a lot of notes, it's just because there was so much happening and just kind of like,
Oh, and just all of it was awesome.
all
Loved
right.
it.
So and finally, uh, Sabine and Jacinda confront Sandy about Drew. He tells them exactly where he is, and they find him tied up in a closet. Sandy tells them to join him, and when they resist, he pulls out a voodoo doll of Sabine. After a few pokes with his needles, they are forced to comply. At Jacinda's, Henry runs after Lucy, who at this point is furious. She says it's like he doesn't even want to believe. She wishes he could remember what it was like to be a kid. Looks like the trip is off at this point. He drops his bag and realizes that Ronnie slipped the picture and papers in there. He flips through them and sees a number. In Storybrooke, a young Henry gets ready for graduation, but he just can't seem to get the tilt of the cap right. When the phone rings, he answers with a quick hello. On the other end of the line in Seattle, after hearing his voice, all of Henry's memories come flooding back to him. He gives his younger self a bit of sage advice and reminds him to look behind the dresser before hanging up. Lucy asks Henry who he was talking to, and he corrects her to call him Dad. He remembers. Meanwhile, Gothel approaches the garden to complete her ritual when Ronnie sneaks up with a bat, which Gothel smashes with a flick of her wrist. Gothel was hoping for more of a challenge. Ronnie picks up what's left of her bat as if it were a wooden stake. Let's do this. Elsewhere, after leaving the graduation party early, Regina sees there is something on Henry's mind. He tells her that he's realized no matter where he goes, Storybrooke will always be a part of him. When she asks what he's finally decided to do, he says he'll talk about it tomorrow. Back in Seattle, Ronnie does her best to stand against Gothel, but it was never going to be enough. And she knew that. Gothel throws her across the garden one final time before a plume of fire rushes from underground out of the well and into the sky. Henry finally arrives and rushes to his mother's side, but it's too late. He plants a kiss on her forehead, and a sudden burst of energy radiates outward. The plume of fire dies out. Alice comes to and runs to Robin's arms. Suddenly, I'm sorry, Captain Nook. Sorry, got tongue tied there for a second. Captain Nook suddenly notices the crocodile he befriended in Weaver. All at once, the curse of Hyperion Heights are awoke. Henry apologizes to Regina for not believing, but she's just glad to have him back and her magic. Now her and Gothel can really go at it, but it's still not enough. That's when Gold shows up with Tilly and the others. Tilly doubts herself, but her father comes to tell her he believes in her. It's noticeably hard for his heart to be near her, but he fights it, saying her love makes him stronger. Gothel tries to sway her daughter, but but Alice said she refuses to be guided by hate. She may have been abandoned by her mother, but she's surrounded by people that care for her. She chooses love. Gothel angrily directs her magic towards her daughter. Alice defends herself, and her light magic overcomes her mother's dark. Gothel's limbs start to gnarl and twist. Her legs take root, and she becomes one with the grove. Alice says she's sorry for what her mother became and promises to do better. She waves her hand, and a bed of flowers grow at the base of the Gothel tree. Across town, Sandy wishes good riddance when Tiana, Ella, and Drew escape from the closet. They go in for the attack, but he vanishes in a puff of smoke before they can grab him. Tiana and Drew have a quick reunion, and Ella runs off to find her family. At the garden, Henry and Regina have a heart to heart, and meanwhile in Storybrooke, Regina comes home to find a note from young Henry. It's the essay he wishes he could have sent to the schools. As he reads about the magic of love and hope that his family represents, we see the denizens of Hyperion Heights in the garden. Alice and Robin watch as Hook is cared for by a medic. Looks like he'll be fine. Naveen and Tiana try to catch up to Ella, who runs to Henry's arms with Lucy not far behind. Everyone is reunited because, as we know, they always find each other. Gold, though happy for everyone, longs for a reunion of his own. While everyone celebrates, he slips away to his evidence room. He opens his safe and finds it empty, and he knows just who to blame. He goes to Facilier's apartment, and after a bit of searching, he finds what he's looking for, the book of his and Belle's travels. Facilier steps out of the shadows, and Gold does the old forced joke, but looks down at his book and thinks otherwise. Facilier laughs and says finding love has made him the worst version of himself. Suddenly, we hear the familiar sound of a blade, and Facilier falls to the floor, revealing the scaly crocodile holding the dagger. Looks like the final showdown is with the Dark One himself.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, so yeah, just that last paragraph, like first of all, like I was
Drink some water, Bobby.
excuse me. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, like obviously like Deus Ex Machina here, like nothing before this episode, before the last like paragraph of this episode mattered for all intents and purposes, because going in, like Anastasia didn't matter, Belfry didn't matter, Sandy didn't matter, for all of this talk over the past few weeks of who the big bad is, looks like ultimately, and fittingly, I mean, this is, the big bad of the, to begin with, the Dark One has been the big bad of the series, in one form or another, whether that be Rapunzel or Emma and Hook, or the original, I forget what Nimue was the original Dark One, I believe.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, in one form or another, for the most part, the Dark One has played a very large part in this series, so it's very fitting as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, you didn't think Wish Realm could hold me, did you?
Yeah, I really did not see any of that coming, to be quite honest with you. Did not see that coming at all.
I've got so much to say.
So for that alone, like, wow. What was that? There was something I wanted to add real quick. I hate when I don't write stuff down. When obviously it was obvious, like, oh, he's looking for his dagger, and then you find out he's not looking for his dagger. He's looking for the book of his and Belle's book. First of all, obvious up reference. I believe we've even mentioned that before. Like with the old man and his wife who had died with the book of travels and whatnot. Up, the story, the Pixar movie.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to his wife dying and then him being left with this book of travels that yeah, it's just and then the look on his face when he got that book, and like everything about that, like just like we were saying about a few weeks ago, the Guardian episode, I believe it was, with with the last scenes, where Rumple heard Belle's voice and all. I mean, just I know there's been so many critics of the Rumple and Belle story, but I don't care. I'm I don't ship, but if I were to ship, I would be shipping that. The scene with Henry talking to himself, like, they really did a good job in showing just how well they like cast the older Henry, because like they even their mannerisms, there was even a slight thing, and I'm sure it was told by the director to do, but like when he grabs like his hair and does like this, and then the young Henry does the same thing on the other end of the line. Yeah, just everything so well done. And I had my doubts in the beginning of the season with Andrew J. West. I kind of felt he was a bit wooden. And I think we even pointed out there not being too much chemistry between him and Jacinda. But I really feel like they got there. on all points. I really do. But yeah, Elizabeth, like you said, you had a lot to say. So I'm sure I'll probably have 2 cents here and there to add myself. But why don't
That's
you go
okay.
ahead and take? Why don't you go ahead and take
I'm
it?
hearing an echo on my end.
I don't hear an echo.
Okay, well, all right. Oh, wait,
Do you,
it's gone.
Monica?
It's gone.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the paragraph. I'm just going to take it basically paragraph by paragraph of this last structure. And so the scene that Henry calls himself, I loved it so much because you see this emotion in Andrew J. West's face and the confusion in Jared Gilmore's face, and then they did the slick back of the hair to just show the familiarity. But more than that, just seeing Henry's memories come flooding back honestly got me a little emotional. And then it's just, he's remembering that this conversation happened to him when he was the young Henry. So it's like he automatically knew what to say because he's had that conversation before. So it's like a continuous time loop kind of thing. And but I just love that scene and the emotion that Andrew J. West was showing. And then when he sees Lucy and he's like, it's my baby girl, kind of look on his face, and he just wants to hold his daughter, and he's like, I'm your dad, and I just love that exchange. Okay, so moving on to the next paragraph. I gotta move the paragraph down. All right. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say. Oh, okay, so then Henry gets to Regina, and he's like, Mom, he's like, I love you, Mom. And it's basically like a callback to when he, basically every time a curse has been, uplifted is because someone said, I love you, and there's the kiss on the forehead or whatever. And it's reminiscent of when Emma kissed Henry, or when Regina gave Henry a kiss to, break the curse. And I loved it. I thought it was so fitting that now it's his turn to break the curse. I loved that. And it just felt like full circle, And then also, okay, so when Nook wakes up, he looks to his, I think it was his right, and he's like, and Weaver and him are looking at each other, and he's like, Captain, he's like, crocodile. It was like, I just loved how he said crocodile. It was like he saw a friend, and it's so cool because they've never really been friends, but now they have this cool truth, which I loved.
And Weaver already knew, so he was like, yeah. Captain Hook. And
well, to be fair, I don't think he's ever seen crocodile without scales.
Crocodile?
You're right. He's never seen the crocodile without scales.
It was so fun.
Has he not?
As the new Hook,
maybe that's why he looked at him like that.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly, because when he saw him, he was like, crocodile? Because they'd never seen him outside of, being the Dark One before.
Okay.
Well, all right. He had never seen him as
a real person, not
their old country their old country selves.
Mm-hmm.
And Weaver already knew, so he was like, yeah, Captain Hook, yeah, sure, of course. And he was like,
so okay, can I finish?
What?
Oh. Can I finish and then go? And then Monica, you have free reign then. I'm just excited. Okay.
Oh, me too. I love this.
I know. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of what Bobby said, but yeah, I thought Rumpel was looking for the dagger as well. But it does make sense that he was looking for the travel book because those are his best memories of Belle, and they get right away its value to him. Okay, and I'm gonna break some stuff down and see if you guys have thought about this or not. Okay, so it almost feels so I'm just gonna go through my notes. It almost feels full circle for the entire series of the show to end with the Dark One as the final big bad. Totally makes sense. Okay, so Wish Dark One. We already know how to defeat a Wish Realm persona. We've done that in season 6. But this one is immortal. So I'm sure that makes a difference. I think Rumpel will need the Charming family to help him defeat the Dark One. with only 2 episodes left, though, they will obviously find a quick solution. But should it be that easy to kill the Dark One? Will both the Dark One and Rumple die at the same time, separately? These are my questions. Also, and I think, and I think at some point towards the end, a memory wiping potion or spell of some sort will have to be done because the Henrys and Reginas and so on cannot remember their future selves if they do indeed come face to face with them, because the future still has to go on. So someone's got to wipe their memory claim of whatever transactions will take place. Interactions, not transactions. And okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
Well, maybe John was right a few weeks ago when he said that that Gold will be the Guardian, and like literally Gold will be the Guardian against the Wish Dark One. You know, like maybe there'll be something involved there. You know, that like Rumple ultimately plays the hero again. You know, again, that's playing off of John's theory from a few weeks ago. I don't know. I don't know if I have too much more to add on what you just said there, Monica.
I loved the little older Henry saying, "Look behind your dresser to the tiny
little box
present." Yeah, and not only was it a small box, it was from Tiny.
It was literally from Tiny.
You knew what was in that box before you even opened it because the word Tiny was there.
Right. Yeah,
but we're like, well, so basically, this episode literally led up to like the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because that's like the first thing we see is Regina seeing Henry off, into through a portal or whatnot.
Right.
And he got the motorcycle from Pinocchio.
And the whole Rumble versus Rumble thing, I mean, just before that happened, I was like, okay, so I can deal with this actually being the end of the series. And then we get Rumple going into that safe, and something's missing, and my first thought is dagger. I'm like, okay, well, what has Alice done with it? And he's all Facilier. I'm like, again? Really? Again? But it's not dagger, it's the book. And that melted my heart. That if he was going after the book instead of the dagger. And yeah, and then old Rumple, Wish Rumple shows up. But yeah, the whole book thing just melted my heart. I loved it.
Can I just say, I'm actually not surprised about Wish Rumple. I'm not. In some ways, I was, yes. But at the same time, it makes sense because we had Wish Hook. We had all these other Wish characters. And we saw Wish Rumple back in season 6. I mean, we knew he existed. And at one point, we had all discussed, well, what happens with that person? What happens to Wish Rumple? And we had discussed that. I remember it. So, it does make sense that he would finally show up. It really does. Because it's a loophole that they gotta reference, that they gotta make sure that that's taken care of too, because we all know he's out there.
It's something that we all knew about. I just never expected to see it again.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I just didn't know when.
Okay, is there anything else anyone wanted to add before? I think that's the end of the episode as far as the recap goes. I didn't have anything else to add, guys. Good. All right. So yeah, like I said, there was a lot to say about this episode. And I guess, and I didn't write down anything for C, arbitrary scale. So out of um, I hate when this happens.
3,333.
Okay, out of 3,333,
Travel books?
needles from a tree in the Eternal Grove.
Oh, no,
So,
I do remember one last comment I had.
oh, okay. Well, go ahead. What do you got to say real quick?
That gospel tree was really, really ugly.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
I think
hideous, like a dead tree.
yeah, yeah.
I think it was intentional because Gothel
Became black and dark and twisted.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It just needs to be mowed down, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I felt like it was a bit intentional too, but yeah, that effect had a little left a little to be desired and whatnot. So, out of a great episode, I guess I was trying to leave the one flaw. I guess, I mean, to be honest with you, for the most part, other than that, there really wasn't too much to pick apart for this episode. So, back to what we were saying, out of 3,333 needles fallen from a tree in the Enchanted Grove. Monica, what are you going to give this week's episode?
$3,333.
Perfect.
I really like this.
Yeah, it was a great episode. no one's giving you crap. You don't have to like do that with a question mark.
I have been the whole done the whole no episode's perfect, but
right. Like I said, this felt like a finale.
It really did. It really did.
Okay, so we got a perfect going here. What is it going to get from you, Elizabeth?
It's going to get a perfect score.
333 or 3,000.
I knew from the moment I finished watching it the first time, I wanted to give it a perfect score. I knew it. And if it's going to get a perfect score, why not at the end of the series,
Yeah.
Well, technically, we still have 2 more episodes left.
You know what I mean.
I'm not gonna break it. I'm gonna give it 3,333.
Yay! Perfect scores all around. This is the first.
This was a great episode.
So, yeah.
I thought everyone brought it as far as like I said, if I was going to say anything against it, I would say that it felt kind of cheap that Sandy just got stabbed in the back and got like the rest of the season just didn't matter for the most part. And I feel like I've been seeing that for the past few episodes, as far as obviously they're just trying to tie up loose ends, but I mean, Gothel, I guess for the most part was the bad person of the season proper. I mean, we saw her as early as like episode 3 or 4, I think. Tower Girl, I think, might have been the first episode we saw her in. But anyway,
perfect scores all around.
Yeah, it was a great episode.
But Sandy wasn't
he didn't
dealt with.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Confronted and then he just ran off. So
yeah, that's how he did always. Yeah,
but still have to deal with him at some point.
Well, he got stabbed this time, didn't he?
No.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you talking about? Sandy got stabbed by the dagger.
Yeah, the dark one at the end of the episode.
So Naveen, Ella, and
that was earlier.
Queen
at the very end.
They jumped out of the closet and said, "Yeah, you suck." And
right. And then he disappeared. And then
Yeah,
at the very end of the episode, Rumple, Gold went looking for his dagger.
right.
We thought it was his
Well,
dagger, but he was looking for his book. And then
right.
he puts Sandy in a chokehold, and then realizes that he can't do that because he looks down at the book and sees, like, oh, I can't do that anymore. And then Sandy's like,
Right.
oh, you're the worst version. You've become, love has made
Of
you the worst version
yourself.
of yourself.
And then
And
other
then
gold
that's when
stabs him.
Rumple
Right.
stabbed him, Wish Rumple, and then he just falls to the ground, and we don't have to deal with Sandy anymore. He stabs
Right.
him with the
Yeah,
Rumple,
that
he stabs
is
him with the Dark One's
okay.
dagger.
Yeah. I after that whole everyone's happy and Jacinda and Henry have their moment. I kind of
Drifting off.
the rest of the episode not to happen.
But yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. That to me felt the cheapest. At least we dealt with Gothel, with Sandy. I mean, look, you forgot about it. With Sandy, it was just kind of like, oh, here, Deus Ex Machina. Here comes
Exactly.
here comes Gold out of nowhere. Or not Gold, but but and again, that's
Other gold.
Yeah, that's not taking
If
away
you're gonna say
from
Rumple versus Dark One, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, that's not taking away from this episode at all. Like we all said, I mean, I thought everyone did a great job as far as performances go. I thought the writers did a great job with what they had to work with as far as having to tie up what loose ends they had to deal with. I mean, they had to be dealt with one way or another. Sandy had to be dealt with, and there was only 2 episodes left, so I guess they had to go the way they went. So I'm not really faulting him for that much. I guess that's why I'm still after you guys both gave it perfect, I loved this episode so much as well. I couldn't not follow suit.
Yeah,
So
and
go ahead.
That they only have 2 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of had to just shove him off to the side like that.
Right. Unless he was gonna have something to do in the last 2 episodes.
Right.
Yes, I totally agree. And that's why I'm saying that I'm not totally, I understand that unfortunately they kind of had themselves painted into a corner that they, had to deal with one way or another. And so, like I said, all things considered, I have no complaints. So anyway, I guess that does it for this week's episode. I mean, there's obviously only 2 weeks left, so there's no news or anything like that to go. I did anyone even bother to look at what the ratings were for this week? I didn't even think about that.
I haven't done that in a few weeks. I forgot.
I didn't think about it.
How long do you think either of you could check real quick just to see?
I'm on it.
All right, just for shirts and giggles. I said shirts.
Yes, you did.
That's the name of a local. Okay, go ahead.
So I've been hearing some spoilers from Adam Horowitz.
I don't know
about how the timeline is all everything is exact, and it's all going to make sense, and everything is all situated and
oh, that was what I was going to ask.
and I'm reading that mess and I'm like, oh, bull.
Do you think they're going to get sent back to the times they should have been, to the time they should be in?
I think there's going to be some Ex Machina BS that just fixes everything.
Because, like,
I don't
right now, they're all existing at the same time.
I don't think there's any actual overarching overwhelming plan.
Mm-hmm.
I I think they're just going to come up with some gimmick at the end to force it to work.
I guess what my question is though is that, like, like I said, they're now with the revelation of this episode, everyone's existing at the same time. So I wonder, like what, I don't know. I guess like I said, because like there was no like anything in this episode of like, oh well, now that that's over with, I guess we need to figure out how to like get us back to where we belong when we belong. Because
or
like,
maybe this other timeline no longer exists.
did we lose Elizabeth?
Oh crap! I don't see her on the. I wasn't looking.
Sorry. Oh, and she was the one looking up the the ratings for us. I was busy talking. Okay, hold on a second. Yep, she just lost her Wi-Fi.
Yeah, she lost. Yeah,
she just lost her Wi-Fi. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and look for you go ahead and talk again like you were talking about for a second. I'm gonna see if I can find the ratings just because. What were you talking about?
I think, I'm afraid that they're just going to come up with some BS to just, oh yeah, everything's all good, and that they've been saying for a while that it's all meticulously planned, and I don't believe it for a moment. But
You don't
we'll see.
What don't you believe?
That they have everything all planned out and the timeline has been meticulously adhered to as they claim. I think that's BS.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. Like I said, especially after what's gone on with um what just happened in this past few episodes, it's obvious that like I don't even okay, that was the one thing I did want to ask real quick, and unfortunately Elizabeth's not with us. Do you think they planned this Rumple thing from the beginning, or do you think it was like I just keep saying Deus Ex Machina at this point?
At this point, I don't think there's any telling.
Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, I mean they're in a totally different boat than they were 6 months ago when they, were heading, it's like they were heading south, and then all of a sudden someone told them, like, oh no, you were supposed to be going north.
Right. No, I agree that they've been totally thrown a left curve as far as direction, but over the course of the seasons, I don't think they ever had a meticulously
planned out story
timeline.
I understand where you're coming from.
And now at the end they're claiming they did, and not believing it for a second.
All right. But regardless, I really can't wait to see what they have in store for us in these next 2 weeks. Especially after that last reveal. I mean, that was, regardless of whether they had that planned out or not, that was, definitely got me hooked for whatever's going to be coming next week at the very least. So if you want to join us in these last few weeks, send us any kind of feedback or join in on the conversation, you can email us at You can email us at greetingsfromstorybrooke@gmail.com. The Twitter is at gfstorybrooke, and the Facebook is the most active anyway. Got a pretty active community there. It's facebook.com/greetingsfromstorybrooke. The voicemail is 424-274-2352, 424-274-2352. And unfortunately, Monica or Elizabeth lost her Wi-Fi. I believe her Twitter is Queen Liz _87, something along those lines. As she wouldn't be able to remember it either. But Monica, if anyone wanted to if anyone wanted to bother you online, find out what you were up to, where would they?
At Monica Sadai on Twitter.
Monica.
Yeah.
All right, and then of course you can follow me on Twitter at Inevitable Hawk, HAWKE, and then of course you can always find me here every week on wrong button again. Find me every week here hosting Greetings from Storybrooke. But I guess that's gonna do it for us this week. Until next week, with only two of us here, maybe we'll actually be able to get it a little bit synced up. Until next week, guys. Monica, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings from Storybrooke.
Hey, that was actually pretty good.